Do you prefer to like, because I've been thinking about maybe Brooklyn only because I've been staying at an Airbnb in Williamsburg. Yeah. I've heard, because I was in the part that I'm in, it's like, this isn't even Oakland. Like, this is nothing. You know what I mean? Like, this is not dangerous at all. You know?
Oh, dude, it's so hipster.
Yeah.
Like bougie, super nice coffee shops. Everything that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Everything that annoys me.
Yeah. You see, I remember. Should we welcome people?
Well, let's welcome.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the joint episode of the Matthew Banks podcast.
And the Conservatish.
Yes.
Is that how you say it?
Yes.
With Pete Feliciano.
That is me.
Yes.
You said it very white, but that's okay.
Oh, how are you supposed to say it?
Well, it's Feliciano, but whatever.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't as bad as, like, we're going to La Jolla instead of La Jolla.
Or Quesadilla.
Yeah, Quesadilla. You're not from New York, though, originally.
No, I'm from Mississippi.
Right. Well, I remember us talking in the Bay Area and how, I don't know, how, like, you're not very happy with, or not happy, but you're just not a regular Bay Area guy, and you're not a normal, like, hipster guy, and you're not a, like, one of the things I've liked about your attitude is that you have the attitude that you that you have the attitude that you have, because so many times, like, I was talking with somebody else about it yesterday about how, like, everybody in the Bay Area is not, like, in LA, everybody's like, oh yes, I'm a lawyer for Sony. Oh yes, and everybody loops it into a conversation that way. Uh-huh. In New York, it seems like so far people are trying to make it, but at least they're not faux supportive. Like in the Bay Area. I don't know the comedy scene as well from being a comedian like you would, but in the Bay Area, everybody, musician-wise, is very like, oh, I'm crusty and I'm granola and I'm, like, expressing myself. So I'm making believe I'm not trying to make it, and I'm making believe I'm not here to get laid, but, like, I really am.
Yeah, it's the whole I agree with you thing. It drives me crazy. It's the whole agreeable, if you say this, then I'm going to agree with it because I don't want to be threatening, or you should feel safe around me.
Right, like off stage especially?
Oh, man. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the comedians, but there still were a large percentage of comedians in the Bay Area that drove me crazy. With, if you're a comedian and you get offended by a joke that someone's trying to be funny.
Yay!
Like, if someone's trying to be funny, I don't care what they say. Then, I mean, I still might get offended, but it's not going to dictate my behavior.
Right.
When people tell fat people jokes, it hurts.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's fine.
And for me anyway, it's true. Like, I mean, I've lost some weight, but, like, it makes sense that I don't think my body positivity should override the fact that, like, I probably shouldn't eat the way I eat, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't want it to be so sensitive that I just die early, you know, for, you know, whatever.
In the body positivity thing, too, it's like, is your judgment really that poor that you're okay with that fat tit that you have? Like,
why is it one? Why is it like a one?
Well,
is
my
like
left
a unit
one's bigger than my right. So
I've heard that hefty lefty.
Yeah, exactly.
Hefty lefty,
like a trash bag, a blown out trash bag, and so. So what are you gonna do? And that just drives me crazy. It's like, you're okay with the way you look. I mean, that's good in a sense, but in another sense, it's like I could lose a foot tomorrow. Yeah. So it's a catch-22. It's right. Why do you have to be so extreme with everything?
Right.
And why can't it be an equal balance?
Right. Or at least, even if I'm like, I feel better about myself, like, we can still laugh at it. Like, laughing isn't necessarily. That's what I hate about this whole thing that they're doing with movies, where, like, are we telling the right tales? Like, are we telling the right stories? Like, it's just a fucking movie. Like, this is supposed to be entertainment. It's not we're telling the right story. There's not a story that needs to be told. You know, like, every movie is like, okay, now we're gonna have a gay couple and they're both black, or one of them's black and one of them's Middle Eastern. Yeah, because we need to tell that story. Oh, and they adopt. Yeah.
Because
but wait a second.
Realistic.
Right, because we have to tell that story. And we also need to tell the story of maybe one of the guys has sex with a female and they have a child together, but he's still gay. Like, we have to tell that. Like, shut the fuck up. Just is it funny?
Yeah.
Is it fun? Is it entertaining?
Yeah, it's like, you know, the whole white guy success in comedy, and like, how could I dare my favorite comedian be white? It's like, because I'm white and that's what I relate to. it's not because I'm I mean, I love Dave Chappelle too, but I like Bill Burr better because he's white, and that's because I relate to that. It's like he's talking,
and
from
he's more racially pure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't relate to anyone that doesn't have as much privilege as me. So, it just drives me fucking crazy.
That's like, and the black comedians understand that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have Chocolate Tuesday and Barbecue Monday. The comedy nights that are all black.
There used to be like a Chitlin something room and
circuit.
Yes, I think it was a Chitlin circuit.
Yeah.
And if you said that around somebody that didn't know that was actually a thing in San Francisco, they're like, "Oh, did he really just say that?"
Oh my God! I was talking with somebody yesterday. So yesterday I went to the Comedy Cellar last night. No, I got in Thursday. Today's Saturday. Yeah, so I got in Thursday, and then I went to the Comedy Cellar last night because I'm just like, I've heard so much about the Comedy Cellar, and I just needed to go there. You know what I mean? Like it was like, from listening to Patrice ONeal for the years and listening to Colin Quinn, Jim Norton, Bill Burr, Colin Quinn, all these people who are talking about the Cellar, I was like, all of my favorite people. Like, that's part of the reason why I wanted to come here, just so I could like at least see 30 Rock with my own eyes and see the Comedy Cellar with my own eyes. So I went into Comedy Cellar, and then on the way back, and that was a whole bunch of different stories too. But like on the way back, I ran into a couple of girls who were at the show, and we were talking, and one of the things that I realized was that in the Bay Area, they have, like, there's a lot of like liberal people, but they've never really met, like, they don't know
person.
Yes, they don't know any black people, and so in New York, you can be, quote unquote liberal, you can be quote unquote woke or whatever the fuck, which is its own like bullshit, we could talk about, but at least you can play the dozens with a black guy. You grew up with black people. Like I started walking around on Thursday as soon as I landed, I'm like, oh, there's real black people here.
Legit black people,
right?
Yeah.
And it's not like Oakland black people. Well, okay, let me phrase that.
The newer Oakland black people.
Yes, that's the worst kind of black person is a black.
I did not say that was Pete. Pete said this. I did not say this.
No. But the worst type of black person is a college female black person at this point, because they're just the most humorless, childish, emotionally like the intellectually boring motherfuckers, because they have all of the victimhood, but not enough of the experience to equal the victimhood, or at least a sense of humor around the victimhood. They have all of the victimhood, and they're a smarmy child. You know what I mean? Like it's the worst type of mix. Where at least a black girl from the Bronx or from even Oakland, like from the hood, will yell at somebody on a train. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, okay, that's not mature necessarily, but like they're letting that aggression out that way.
And they're standing up for themselves, and it's real.
Right away, exactly. And it's real, and it's right away, and it's about little shit like, you stepped on my fucking shoe or some bullshit. Whereas a college days right now in the Bay Area anyway, some black girl who lives in Berkeley, who grew up in fucking Pleasanton, her first taste of not being sheltered is going to Berkeley or going to a school in Oakland. So but she has the badge. I have the skin, the badge that says I am morally superior to those about me. I am allowed to, let me make my hair super African. You know what I mean? Like, let me just get chubby as shit and just like yell at people for no reason and start a march, because I can make everybody in the march who are all marching with me, I can sway them one way or another, because they're all white kids, and they'll default.
Who've never been around a black person.
Exactly, and they'll just default. Oh my God, a black person said I should go left. Okay, I'll go left. You know what I mean? Like, it's the weirdest shit to notice. In New York, at least, there's legit ass motherfuckers. Yeah,
that's why people aren't nearly as offended here.
Right.
I mean, there's still Brooklyn, which now is so gentrified, it's ridiculous. But either way, I mean, like, that's one thing that disturbed me so much when I came to the Bay. I remember somebody saying, yeah, man, I went to the South one time. It was the craziest thing. I went to school there, and in my cafeteria, like, all of the black people, there was only black people that worked in the cafeteria. It was such a real sad thing to see. I said, dude, all of the black people here are homeless. I was like, yeah, I agree that it should be, something needs to change, but goddamn, it seems you're a lot farther behind than we are.
And not just that, I think that there is something to be said. I mean, like, when I came here, where was I? I was at the shitty ass Newark airport, which is the weirdest, most depressing airport I think I've ever been in. Have you been to the Newark airport?
Oh, yeah.
It's a sad beige place. It feels like Hayward. It feels like a Hayward Fremont mix. Anyway, so I was there, and there were Indian girls working at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm like, oh shit, like that doesn't happen in the Bay Area. Everybody who's Indian has money. Everybody who's Indian has like a family. And so what happened is, I think that the reason why those two Indian ladies were working there is because one of them got the job, or a couple of generations back, there was an Indian person who got the job, and she knows Indian people who need jobs, so she's like, hey, I got this job over here at a Dunkin' at fucking EWR. And so that's why it gets homogenized like that. It's not necessarily all of the Indian people are all, disparaged or, whatever. It's like somebody has a job and they know somebody, and like if I went to Germany, I always use that stupid analogy, but like if I went to Germany, I would look, okay, where are the American motherfuckers? Okay, there's some American motherfuckers. Hey, dude, do you have a job? Do you know anywhere where there's people who like work because I need a job? Yeah, I'll hook you up here. Unless I had a job before I went out there, but like it'd be the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, and it's so tough for me because I've lived in 10 different cities all over the country.
Yeah, so, you're a Southern boy, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a Southern kid. Like I grew up Southern, and I hated the South until I moved to San Francisco, and I saw how fucking ridiculous it was. Mm-hmm. I was like, now I actually have an appreciation, because the racism is crazy. There's a lot of problems, but they have culture and they're real about it. I've been doing this bit about it, and I say, how you tell if somebody's racist in the South? Here's a little tip. You walk right up to them and you look them right in their eye and you say, hey, man, are you racist? And they'll say, yeah, why? What's the big deal?
Wrong?
Why are you even asking me that?
And there's a black person
question?
Standing next to them.
Right next to them, and they get along. It's like,
isn't that the weirdest shit in the world?
It's like we have our differences, but we get along.
Isn't that so weird? Like, and not just that, the differences thing. I can feel that here in New York, but in the South, it feels like no. I definitely like as soon as I'm in my car with another white guy, we talk shit about. We drive by somewhere that's like a soup kitchen. And we see black people. Oh, there they go. There they are. All right, here we go. So it's not even just that they have their differences in the South. It's like they ultimately disparage, they talk shit about the blacks or talk shit about the Mexicans or whatever, but then they still get along with them.
Oh, yeah, we totally get along.
It's so weird.
And if there's a fight at school between a black guy and a white guy, it's not a race war. It's just there was a fight. There was a disagreement. Because my high school was 50% black, 50% white.
Right.
We had like one Mexican.
Right.
And that was it. And we made it work.
I would love to know this, too, because I've talked about this too on a couple of episodes ago. This is a weird setup, by the way. I don't want to commandeer your,
Dude,
what I mean?
You say whatever. I just have conversations. This is not an interview.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
I don't want to hear more about you.
Matthew. We're so similar.
I don't care about your personal life.
Where did you go to school?
Where'd you grow up? When you grew up, was it,
that hard?
How were you tainted? Is this why you're damaged? Shut the fuck up.
So I was talking with somebody about, I don't think every time somebody calls somebody the nigger word that it's a racist thing. Now here's why. Let me explain myself.
Yeah, you said it. I didn't.
So let me explain myself. Here's why I don't think it's always racist. Is it racial? Absolutely. But if I get into a fight with a dude, even a white dude, I'm gonna call him a faggot. Now, that's not a nice thing to do. It's not a mature thing to do.
And this might not even be right.
No. And I love gay people.
Yes.
But I want to hurt his feelings. It's not mature. It's not the right thing to do. But I want to. I'm not going to call him a dum-dum head. You know what I mean? I'm not going to call him a, oh, you jerk. I figure at that, even when you said your high school was half white, half black, mostly, when you would have mixed race fights, like they would throw the worst insults at each other, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Even if they weren't racist, that's what you do if you're trying to hurt somebody's feelings. It's not a mature, again, not the best thing to do, but like you're trying to hurt their feelings. So why wouldn't you just hit for the fences, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And my thing too is, what better way to hurt a gay guy, hurt a straight guy's feelings than to call him a faggot?
Exactly.
Because growing up, where I grew up, I don't know about the Bay Area, but to be gay was, as a straight guy, was the worst thing ever.
Right.
And we had gay people that we were totally fine with being gay. But if you're straight, you can't be gay. But if you're gay and you're gay, that's fine. It's a weird thing.
Yeah,
but it's still, like masculinity is not always a bad thing.
Right.
If you're like a straight dude, like that's something you want.
Right. And there are a lot of masculine, like, well, not a lot. Apparently, in the gay community, there's so many bottoms. I was talking with my old boss at the. Did you ever go to Does Your Mother Know?
No.
It's a gay adult establishment in the Castro. It's a lovely place. Everybody should go. They have all kinds of wonderful paraphernalia.
Okay.
But anyway, I was working there for 2 months because I needed a job and whatever. And there was a guy, my boss at the time was like, "Oh yeah, there are so many. You could throw a rock in any direction in San Francisco, you're gonna hit a bottom. Like there are no tops. You know what I mean? But there is some
They're all,
masculinity.
Like, submissive gay.
Well, yeah. There's more. There's more. It seems to be that if you're a top in the gay community, you're a commodity. Like you're like, oh shit, like this is some legit ass manhood. You know what I mean?
Tough gay.
Tough gay, exactly.
And this, as opposed to beta gays.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, see, in Boston, I knew a lot of gay. Most of my friends were gay, just because that's the guys I ran into.
Right.
And
I saw this vision of you at like a bathhouse, just like, "Hello, gentlemen." Yeah, you're like the only straight guy there.
Sorry to interrupt the dick sucking.
Right.
But yeah, but there were a lot of very alpha gay men who were way more intimidating than any.
Oh yeah, no, they'll fuck you up, dude.
Dude, they were I mean, if I had to win any fight, I would much prefer having one of them. Not to physically fight them, but their words were just fucking piercing. Like they were so sharp, and it's like, especially the ones that in their 40s, the ones that grew up and had to deal with all this adversity and
shit. They play the goddamn dozens, man.
Oh, dude, they came out when you could be beat up regularly for coming out.
Right.
And so they were tough as nails, dude.
Right. And they even if they believed in body positivity, they would call you a fat fuck in order to hurt your fucking feelings.
Exactly.
And they would say it in a very creative, very biting, very like it sinks all the way down. All the way down to your heart where you hate yourself and just goes, ooh.
That shirt is expensive, but it ain't for you, baby.
Right, exactly.
Like, you'd be like, come on, dude.
Oh, God. It ain't for you, baby. That's the condescending gay way to do it, too. God damn it.
And they're the best. Gay men are probably my favorite people on the planet. Mm-hmm. Just because they're, once they've gone through and accepted that they're gay and gone through that whole bullshit that they had to go through.
Except for the younger ones, man. The younger ones, I was talking with somebody else, like Pollo Del Mar, the drag queen from San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Is that like chicken?
The drag queen. Well, Chicken of the Sea. That's her drag name. It's a great name.
Like a tuna.
Exactly. And she was talking about, doing jokes, and kind of being like a host of gay events and stuff, and as a drag queen, and getting in trouble, quote unquote, from one or two of the members of the audience who would go online afterwards and she made a trans joke, or she made a rape joke, or she made it and this and that. Even though everybody's laughing, and I talked about it with her. I was like, there's this fucking, the younger gays are doing that same thing where like they have it so good, and once they hit the real world, oh wait, I need to find a home somewhere. I can find security and a home in being emotionally or being morally superior. And because I just came out of the womb super gay, I have that moral superiority, and so I'm gonna use that rather than the older ones who actually went through shit, and now you can't hurt them for nothing. Like you say them to something on the street, they got it right fucking back to you, and they're ready to go. Pollo Del Mar is quick as fuck. You know what I mean? On stage, just any start heckling at her, and she's right back with it, and cutting and biting.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think the biggest problem is not race, it's not gender, it's not any of these things. It's poverty. Growing up in poverty is where the real oppression happens.
Yeah,
I'm talking from a straight white male perspective, so I couldn't know anything at all.
Right.
But just from my observations,
we'll all make believe that you're not even talking.
Yeah,
we'll just totally
this
discount
is Pete
everything.
He's Puerto Rican, so he clearly has
only halvesies.
Yeah.
So you can only listen to half. You can only listen to half of the things I say. I'm only half morally superior. No, that's why I'm half Puerto Rican. And I'm also like 3/16 black.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Did
you can
get
only
the
listen to
did
like
you get the dick or the bad
40%.
credit? That's a Ralphie May joke.
Actually, both, which is weird. Maybe I'm like,
There you go. I would sacrifice a fucking bad credit for a giant dong.
but I'm Puerto Rican, so it's the Catholicness, so it's
Uncut.
it still has it. Yes, it still has a sheath.
Oh, your fucking your dick's in the KKK.
Except it's an off-white hood. It's not a white hood. It's an off-white hood because I'm Puerto
Okay,
Rican.
a little
so
dingy.
it's not
Looks
dirty.
like- looks like
I'm not
it'd be-
saying it's dirty. It's look like a fucking worm, like an earthworm.
Okay, it looks like a dude in the KKK that's been sitting in a house that's been smoked in for years. It's all yellow.
Yeah. Oh man. I wonder how they would, because they didn't have like legit ass bleach either. I wonder how they kept their hood so white back in the day. You know what I mean?
Moonshine. They probably just.
Really?
I don't know.
Come on, you're from the South. You should know these things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they would keep them so white.
What part of the South are you from?
I'm from the Delta, from
Where's that?
Cleveland, Mississippi. 2 hours straight south.
Cleveland, Mississippi.
Yeah, 2 hours straight south of Memphis, Tennessee.
I heard Mississippi is like legit ass South. It's not like.
Oh yeah, it's totally legit south.
It's not like Nashville. It's like.
No, it's totally different.
Ooh, yeah, man.
But
and yet you had a lot of blacks at your school.
Tons. And like I said, here's another thing. I was talking with this white girl the other day about it, and I was saying like a lot of people, especially people like Bay Area people that grew up around white people all their life.
I'll be gentle with this.
Oh, you're good. I tell them, you don't realize that black people can also be racist.
Oh yes, very much.
Like if I go into a black neighborhood as a white man, that is not a good idea. And like white people here, not here necessarily, but Bay Area have never experienced that.
Oh no. And if they do, what they do is they do this, especially the white women, they do this thing. Okay, I'm so afraid of being racist that I'll make believe I'm super safe, even though I'm terrified right now.
Yeah, and then you
We're
get
like,
raped. And
exactly, dude.
that was
We're like
awful.
that.
I apologize.
No, it's true. All black people are rapists, just like you just
Well,
said.
you know. We don't want to generalize, but the truth hurts. So. I mean, it's crazy how they think that's a thing. It's like,
Right.
It's like, no, dude. Where I grew up, I mean, you could legitimately, as a white guy, be beat up for being a white guy.
Right.
And I'm not by any means saying that was all black people.
Right.
But it was the racism was just as extreme on both sides.
Right. Where like the best you could do is like if you're walking into a black neighborhood, they'll be like, what are you doing here? Like what are you what's
They
going
would
on?
legitimately say, "Why are you here?"
Right.
Or whistle at you and say, "Look, I've got some weed."
Right.
That's why I always went. And I remember one time, I felt about as low as you could possibly feel as a white guy.
Sure.
I was going through the ghetto and I saw a black guy with
Okay.
a basketball jersey walking down the street, and I
Uh-huh.
figured I made some assumptions that he probably had some weed.
Oh no.
And so I pulled over and I rolled down the window and I said, "Hey man, you know where I can get a dime?" And he was like, you white motherfucker! Like you're the fucking reason that our neighborhood is fucked up. He's like, you sorry son of a bitch. He's like, get the fuck out of my neighborhood. He's like, you're the reason we're so fucked up. And I was like, oh my god,
That's pretty true. I mean, it's true. Yeah,
It's true.
Yeah,
I'd probably done that 100 times, and he's the only guy that ever said no. I don't. And
Right.
And I felt so fucking shitty that I didn't go back for like at least a day or two. Like,
or at least okay, don't ask that dude.
Yeah.
Just remember, okay, Seahawks jersey. Don't ask the Seahawks jersey guy.
yeah. And
Man.
so, and that's the thing is, I can't tell you how many times I've been around black people and felt pretty unsafe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. And not just that, but like legit ass motherfuckers will tell you, like, oh yeah, no, you can't trust yourself around us. You know what I mean?
And a black guy that's woke will say, "Look, dude, you don't have any business being over there.
Right.
Like keep yourself safe, bro."
Right.
And
And that's just when you're knowledgeable about yourself. Like just like I don't mind it too much. I'm sorry if I'm too loud.
no, go ahead.
Like when you're knowledgeable about your about the generalizing of your of your population. Like, I understand that, you know what I mean? Like, you can, like, what did Patrice ONeal used to say? Like, he's like, and I'm racist as fuck too. Like, if I'm walking down the street and I see a group of what did he say? When I see a group of bald skinheads walking my way, I'm not gonna go, oh, I bet they all just went to the haircut. Like, I'm gonna like cross the fucking street. You know what I mean? Like, and he has good reason to do that.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't blame white people for being a little afraid of getting jumped. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's it's a touchy subject.
Right.
It's hard to dance around, but this stuff needs to be talked about.
But and the thing is that unfortunately, because of my my blood mix-up, that kind of makes what I say a little more open, than a white guy, which sucks. But I think the ideas should be able to be bantied about just on the merits alone. You know what I mean? I think the words and the ideas should be like, when you be fucking real, like, be real. You know what I mean? And that's something that I talk about sometimes on the podcast. It's just like, do you feel me? Like Patrice used to say, do you fucking, don't just take my words and like, oh, I said a word, so just that means, let's look on the chart, and okay, that means he meant racist things, or that, no, just understand where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes me a while to get there, but the ideas should be defendable, or at least talked about by themselves.
Exactly. I was watching a comic on stage last night, and they got tripped up on a joke because they said man and woman, and they were worried about offending somebody by saying a specific gender, and they weren't able to get the joke out.
Yeah, that's gross.
I'm like, dude, come on.
It's fucking sad, man.
It drives me crazy. But I think it's going to turn around and it's going to move the opposite direction. And all these pussy people that have kids that are like, oh, you can't say man or woman or toxic masculinity, all this other stuff.
Right.
I feel like their kids are going to rebel, and they're going to be the most heinous, like horrendous people you've ever met in your life.
One can pray, Lord, dear Lord,
because
Matthew and I are now asking you from the bottom of our souls to make really racist generation, make a really heinous, hilarious, disgusting, wretched generation, so that we can all feel better.
Exactly. I mean, and I think racist without hate.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
you can
a big
be racist
difference.
without hate.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's why, like, if I see who did I have yesterday? Thursday. It doesn't matter what fucking day. I had an Uber driver who was Asian, and it was that. I had an Asian Uber driver today, and it was fine. Or maybe it was Lyft.
And they were a bad driver.
It was fine. Yesterday's Asian driver was shit. We were going I told the guy as soon as I got in, oh, I'm in a rush. And he was just like, oh, okay. Barely spoke any, English, and that's fine. But, like, you should be at least understand, like, if rush means, what rush that means, and then be able to navigate, but, like, once the congestion did start to open up, he's still in the right lane, just going fucking, just so fucking aggravating.
Yeah, I get it.
And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to vote. I'm not saying that he's not just as much of a human being as the rest of us. I'm just saying I'm allowed to make fun of you. You know what I mean? I'm allowed to go, here we go. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and he has a little hard time pronouncing left.
Right, exactly.
But what are you going to do?
I actually had a comedian, I guess she was an ex-comedian, but on the podcast, who actually said that, and she's welcome to come back and explain herself, but like, and she said that it's okay, like rape jokes are okay, unless you're a white guy. Like if you're a white,
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Cis male. I know, right? Isn't that an insane idea? But like, this is what Bay Area. I mean, I'm sure there are some comics like that over here too, right? Who like
have that attitude.
But they've got to be open micers. They can't be like once you've gotten past open mic stage and you've actually earned your shit. You've been beaten up enough and eaten enough shit spiritually and on stage and off stage to be able to take yourself with more of a grain of salt.
And realize that the reason that it's so fucking hard to do comedy is because it's so fucking hard to do comedy. It doesn't matter what you are.
Right.
And I'm not saying that women haven't had a hard time with like a lot of nonsense, but I was listening to Bonnie McFarlane talking about it, and she's a monster comic, so great. And she was saying, look, I get it that I'm a woman and I've had a hard time, but she's like, I'm also married to Rich Voss, who's also had a bunch of terrible shit happen to him.
Right.
Not because he was a woman, but, you know, just because comedy's a monster. Like, it's a shit business.
Right.
And you're just going to have bad shit happen to you.
Right.
And they're going to use, like, when you say faggot, like, they're going to use whatever they can against you.
Right.
And woman, for them, you know,
Right.
tends to be the thing that they're going to use.
Right.
And like I said, I'm not saying that women don't have a hard time.
They do. Yeah,
By
but they
any
have their
means.
own version of hard time. And sometimes it's more legit. But there are also, and it happens less often than the sexual shit, but, and maybe you're talking about more just like being prejudged as a woman, like she's not going to be funny.
That, well, you know, and just...
Because a lot of them fucking aren't. I mean, I'm sorry, but like my experience is, and this is Pete Feliciano saying this, Bonnie McFarlane's fucking hilarious. Christina Pazsitzky, you know, Tina Fey is my fucking all-time favorite. She's not even a stand-up. Ali Wong, fucking, you know,
Silverman.
There's so many fucking hilarious females. But here's what it is for me. I'm not saying that there are a lot of unfunny females. I'm saying the bar, for some reason, is lower.
Well, see here,
Same thing goes for music too. There are a lot of girls who like pick up a ukulele for 2 weeks, and people are just, oh my god, it's so beautiful, I'm bearing your soul, bitch. You fucking picked up a ukulele a couple of weeks ago. It's going well. As soon as it doesn't, you're gonna, wasn't right for me anyway. I really want to go back to my love of dance. Bitch, fucking, you don't give a fuck. You don't care. I can't stop. And I'm not saying this because I'm so creative, but like I can't stop trying to make music because it's what I'm doing. Like, it's what I have to do. It makes me insane, and I've been hitting my head against this fucking wall of Pete's never gonna get famous, or Pete's not gonna, you know, where I'm gonna play music at a wine bar to like 7 people, a bunch of covers for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, this is called breaking, you know, earning my, you know, cutting my teeth or earning my bones or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, you can't just, like, everything's going well. I invited 20 of my friends. They all came because they all either want to fuck me or, you know what I mean, like, are just giving me daps because I'm bearing my soul. And it's just like, you know what I'm saying? The bar is lower.
Let me offer this perspective because I am
Please.
woke. And as a white guy, I feel like I have a good perspective on this. But
Sure.
I agree with you that there's much less funny women in comedy. But here is my reasoning for why.
Oh, okay.
Is there are much less women in comedy. And as someone that has been to a ton of open mics, and I have seen a ton of comedy, more than I ever hope to ever have to do again.
Right.
There are just as many, if not more, guys that are unfunny.
Okay.
However, the ones that make it, it's probably the same percentage that make it. So maybe 1 out of 10 comics is female.
Okay.
And so it's seemingly that there's way less funny women because the funny women in San Francisco, the ones that are legit funny, that paid their dues, that went through it, are fucking hilarious.
Okay.
And they're some of my favorite comics on the planet.
Okay.
And it's because if you go to an open mic, like a lot of people will complain about there not being a lot of women in comedy.
Right.
And I'll go to an open mic sometimes at the Creek in the Cave, and there'll be 20 men and no women.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not there's a reason,
Right.
but that's just the case.
Right.
And so,
But it's not like the Creek and Cave is stopping everybody at the door and going, "Oh, you know
have
what?
a twat, you can't come in."
can't come in." So again, this is not like, I mean, I know then sorry, continue your point.
Yeah,
because I just want to rant.
yeah, it's like, and I get that. I mean, I get that you might feel very uncomfortable being the only woman,
Right.
and all this other stuff, and that's fine. However, it's still it's still the case that there's much less women in comedy,
Right.
regardless of the reason. So therefore, there's much less funny women than men, just
Right.
because of the numbers.
Right.
And
And
it's
who
got
says?
nothing to do with the gender, really.
And I don't want anybody to feel unsafe.
I don't
but
either.
Like, who says it's supposed to be easy to do this?
I don't want you to feel
it's
physically unsafe.
No, of course not. And I don't want to, but like, if I didn't earn my bones, it wouldn't have value. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want anybody to be able to do music, because then you have a lot of really shitty musicians and shitty artists and shitty comedians. Go to any school, any university in the country, and you'll find thousands of fucking shitty artists and shitty comedians who like think that they're into it and think that they're down and think that, but like maybe a year's worth of adversity and they change. And I'm not saying they're bad people or they're useless or whatever, or even that they're not good, but they have decided to change their occupation. For me, I want it bad enough where it is what I do bad enough, and I want to get better and better and better. So I'm willing to eat shit for a long time. It's supposed to be difficult because that's what builds value.
Yeah.
You know?
And the matter of safety for me is, of course, physically you should feel safe.
Of course.
You should not feel like you're going to get raped every fucking that's horrendous. However, emotionally and safe from you're getting your feelings hurt, like fuck you. Like I mean, the amount of times I've gotten on stage and eaten my dick and gotten heckled and you suck and the filthy looks.
Right.
It's been unbelievably painful.
From women too, right? You've gotten from females in the audience. You've
more
gotten
females than males by far.
Interesting.
By far,
because I believe that there's probably a good amount of female comics, at least in the open mic phase, who think that a guy heckled me or a guy like is making me. It's because I'm a woman. It's like no, not necessarily. Like shitty asshole comes in lots of different styles and shapes. You know what I mean? Shitty asshole, drunk asshole, comes in lots of different sexes and races and whatever, That's why I don't mind. Like, I understand Kramer did what he did, but like I don't think that's the end of the. I don't know if you've talked about it on the podcast before. It was a long time ago
on somebody else's podcast.
Oh, okay.
And I was saying I don't agree by any means with what he said, but I totally get what he said.
Right. I get getting angry and wanting to hurt the guy.
Yeah.
And going like, again, not that he should have said what he said, but he was trying to hurt the guy's feelings. And he talked about it on the. Did you ever see the Comedians in Comedy episode? Yeah. He was like, I shouldn't have done that. I was not in a good space, and I should have said, okay, thank you, and left, and worked on my crafts a little bit more. Which is what a weird. By the way, what a weird thing that like he would say that, because that makes me feel like sad in a way that he would say, oh, you know what, if he's getting heckled, he should have left and looked internally. You know what I mean? That might be the right thing to do. It's not the instinct that I feel like should happen. You know what I mean? As an outsider to comedy, I'm like, if I'm getting a heckle, it's because that person's a piece of shit, which I'm sure he was, but he's a piece of shit, and I don't need to get better. You know what I mean? I know that intellectually that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, how do you like square that in your own belly?
Well, when I've been on stage, and it's probably because of Michael Richards, I remember being on stage distinctly, and there was this Indian guy that was in the audience right next to me.
You could smell him, right?
I mean, curry was rampant in the air.
Dude, BO for me. I love Indian people with all my heart, but like the BO is an issue, man. Everybody needs deodorant.
But yeah, it was an Indian guy. He was right beside me. And I distinctly remember this because I was fucking furious. And he was not only Indian, he was a little shrimp of a dude.
Right.
And I feel like shrimps have way too much balls nowadays because they're not physically responsible for their actions.
Oh, we can make that happen, though.
Oh, I wanted to hit him in the face, but it would have been a hate crime.
Oh.
So he's sitting beside me, and I opened with, like, I had a date last night, and he just whispered, didn't even say it where everyone could hear it, just I could hear it. He's like, I bet it didn't work out. Just being a dick.
Ooh.
And then I said something, he said something else, and I was fucking
So you didn't
furious.
address it?
I didn't, because two problems here. If I address it, they see a comedian attacking some dude for no damn reason because no one else heard it. That's number one.
Okay, all right.
Number two, if I attacked him, the things coming to my head were not PC in the least.
And you had not established yourself in the set in order to get everybody on your side before you attacked him.
I had 3 minutes. And he's doing this. So if I would have attacked him, for one, they'd have been like, what the fuck is up with this dude right now?
Right,
Why is he
right.
attacking this guy? And then two, everything that came to my head was horrendous
Okay.
to say. And luckily I had enough, in me to hold back to not say that stuff.
Right.
And I just finished my set, and when I walked off stage, I just stared at him like the meanest glare I possibly had. And he was just like, I'm sorry. I wanted to go just jerk him out of his chair and be like, dude, you don't fucking do that.
Would there have been a way for you to say, oh, man, and just stop everybody and then take everybody into what he said? Like, do you know what this guy just said?
I would feel comfortable.
Yeah, this guy just said, I bet it wouldn't work out. Oh, what a fucking... And like that, is there a way to get everybody by... Not like I'm a victim as the comedian, but like to get everybody in.
Absolutely, there is. And I would have... Now, today, if it happened, I would probably not even feel uncomfortable saying something racist. Just because I feel when I'm on stage, hopefully you've been given the vibe that I'm not.
Right.
And that I know just how ridiculous
Right.
it is that I'm a Southern guy giving you fucking woke views.
Right.
Like, I get the whole dichotomy. That's like part of my shit.
Right.
Is dichotomy even a word? That just slipped out.
Dude, I say it all the time.
I should
but
not
I have
read
no
anymore
idea,
because
I have no idea what I'm saying most of the time.
Reading for a guy like me is dangerous. Because
dude, I've been trying to read because I've been into Jordan Peterson and shit. He keeps like ragging on these fucking books, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I've gotten like one chapter in, and then I'm like, I'm gonna watch Comedians in Cars again for the 15th time. I'm gonna watch what a dick I am. I'm sorry, continue.
Jordan Peterson. That's another thing that the left just immediately closes off every single thing he has to say.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, and that's totally fine. It doesn't mean I can't listen to him and get something of value.
Yeah.
Hitler probably said some good things.
Apparently, he did the highways. Did you know
Hitler?
that? Yeah.
Oh, really?
That he designed highways?
Oh, wow. I was joking, but okay.
Thanks, Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler, if it wasn't for you,
It'd take a lot longer to get places.
Couldn't have got to work today.
Right. Thanks for the final solution.
Oh.
I mean exterminating the Jews. I don't mean highways.
Wow.
Dude, that's another thing, too, that was really refreshing, is that there are real Jewish people here, too.
Legit Jewish.
Yeah.
And most everyone I've ever talked to, you can say anything about Jewish people, and they're totally fine with it.
Right. There's I understand there's segregation, I guess, which I don't think it's I don't think it's passed down evil segregation. I think it's just like, I'm an American visiting Germany, I'm going to look for the other, Americans and try to live with them and okay, sure, let's go to temple. I just need other people who I'm comfortable with. But there are legit black people, legit Puerto Ricans, legit Dominicans, legit Jewish, legit meaning they still have their culture. Yeah. Where in the Bay Area, there are some, there's some black people, whatever, but there's not, everybody's just kind of watery. Everybody's just kind of watery over there.
There's no culture that I've seen.
Yeah, and it's not the price that priced people out, because it's expensive as fuck here too. You know what I mean? I think it's just a weak people.
Dude,
you're all weak. Fuck you.
I say that I talk about it so much that it's just fucking. My listeners probably fucking infuriated by it, but it's just. I mean, there was the level of resentment I had toward that city. Was to the point where I went a year and a half fucking livid every day, and to the point where I hit a bottom to where I had to come to some sort of peace with it, and I had to really start getting more spiritually active because I was fucking furious.
Right.
And I remember somebody said something to me that changed it for me, and he said, "Why are you so sensitive about people being sensitive?"
Yeah, I guess.
And I was like, yeah, fuck you. How
yeah,
about
exactly.
That? But I mean,
because there's something to be being right. That whole, would you rather be right or happy? Right.
Well, what if you're right? What if you're actually right? That's where the problem really lies.
Right. And you know what's weird too? I don't know if you know this or have felt this about females in New York. They seem to be a little more open here.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely.
Which is because if when I'm on the train. And there's some females not listen, they don't have their headphones in because I think probably number one, you have to be kind of about your wits. And the other reason is they're almost let's see what you got. You know what I mean? Where like they, and not just because I'm incredibly sexy, but they're like, kind of looking at me. Where like in the Bay Area, everybody's just like blinders on. I was told by my, that by my parents that I'm a princess, and so I need to make believe I don't exist, and make believe they don't exist. Everything's fine. There's just a lot more kind of closed off.
Yeah, it's just the whole assertiveness of male and female that I've seen. It's so much more that if someone doesn't like you, they'll just tell you they don't like you.
Right.
Not everyone, obviously, that's a generalization, but a much higher percentage of people. And it was kind of like when my best friend in the comedy scene, do you know Tony Sparks? I'm sure you've probably heard of him.
If you don't seen him at shows once or twice.
He was like my homie because he's from Arkansas. I'm from Mississippi. So we both grew up totally different lives.
Non-Bay Area.
Yeah, but also the same sort of stuff that we saw that people don't realize you see. And I remember one time, there's a lot of different things, but I remember one time outside we were talking and I was saying, yeah, I'm from Mississippi. I was like, me and Tony are homies. And Tony said to every fucking white dude out there, he's like, yeah, this dude knows stuff that you'll never know. And like taking up for me as a white dude. He's like, and then I remember going on stage one time and he said I was from Mississippi. And everybody like, oh, like that sort of dumb shit.
Right.
And he's like, this dude, I'm not worried about it at all because if he doesn't like you, he'll tell you he doesn't like you.
Exactly.
And that's why I have a whole bit now about how racism comforts me. I'm like, whenever I get homesick, I just look up racist jokes, like, because.
Can you give me some? Do you run your? Because I totally. I mean, I know you might feel a little like you don't want to share some, but like
a racist joke.
Yeah.
What's a racist joke?
So I remember we talked about it a few episodes ago, but like the why wasn't Jesus born in Mexico? Because even God couldn't find 3 wise men and a virgin. Because they're stupid sluts. No. But like, there's that one. There's what's the difference between a black man and a pizza? A pizza can feed a family of 4. Or a Jew. What difference between a Jew and a pizza? Pizza doesn't scream when you throw it in the oven.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
You don't remember any others?
Oh, dude, I know some that are so bad that I don't even know.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes me so excited, though.
I might tell you off.
Yeah, man.
Off recording.
All right. Well, then if
just
I share
as a white guy,
really?
I really do have to check.
Oh, fuck that. If I'm half Puerto Rican / 3/16 black, then I officially, yea, and I say unto thee, I knight thee emotionally mature enough to handle context. How's that?
Yeah.
Or to dish out context.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the South, like, here's one. Okay. I have a bunch of black people on my family tree.
Right. They're
still hanging there.
Yay!
Like, that's...
Yay! Yay!
It's...
That's not even really technically a black joke. That's just a literally racist
joke.
That's not even a joke about black people, like, oh, your food smells or something funny like that.
Yeah.
That's legit. That's some strange fruit shit.
It's pretty awful.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's the kind of stuff that was said all the time among white people. And I mean, they were even, and they were joking.
Right, exactly.
Obviously. It's a horrendous joke.
It's called hyperbole. You knock it way, you make believe that something is so, like, it's so much more just to make it. It's almost like, wow, you went there is like a funny thing instead of, wow, you went there. Oh, my God. It's now a complete, judgment of your entire character, which is,
if you can't make fun of the ridiculousness of how horrible shit is, then what are you going to do?
Right. Well, really, I guess you're going to grow up to be a female and fucking never have any consequences because people want to fuck you.
Wow.
I'm telling you, there is something wrong with the structure that girls are growing up in. I feel like my daughters, because I know already I'm going to be cursed with at least 2. Just fucking for karma. But they will fucking understand context. They will be able to defend themselves against douchebags. They will be able to understand jokes. Hopefully. You know what I mean? Too many
You
of
never
these
know.
princesses are growing up princesses and just can't. They just, they get caught up into an emotional, oh, this feeling means this, and so I'm going to fight, and have this feeling. And we do it in relationships too. You've been in relationships with females. Once they get like locked into a feeling, that's all that's happening. There's no logicking your way out of that feeling.
Yeah, I've had lots of women in my life because I'm an approachable guy. So
Right.
I have tons of women friends that don't want to have sex with me.
Oh no.
And which is fine. I have a joke about it where I say, I have no trouble finding a clit. I just can't find a woman. But it's like, so yeah, I have a lot of women that will bring me their problems, and I try my best to separate them from the feeling they're having about the situation.
Right.
And I get it. We're different.
Yeah.
That's
and I can't logic my way out of my feelings often, but sometimes like when the rubber meets the road and somebody, even from an objective standpoint, tells me, hey, listen, this is what's actually going on, I'm a little more willing to listen to the logic end of it and be like, okay, I understand, at least on an intellectual level, I can understand that I'm wrong. I may have to do some spiritual processing in order to detach myself from the feeling, but I can put the feeling in my pocket for a minute instead of acting on it. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem to be able to happen with females.
Much less easily. I can see that. And this is not me talking out of my ass. This is from talking with loads and loads and loads of women that will probably admit the same thing.
Right.
And it doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make them shitty. It just makes them not as good as men.
Exactly.
No. But yeah, I mean, there's that whole thing. And so what are you going to do? It's so hard to even talk about this stuff. Luckily, there's podcasts now to where you can say whatever you want and you can't be censored.
And not just that, but I know a lot of females. I have you listened to any of mine? Because I haven't listened to any of yours.
No.
Okay, good. So we're both guilty. But I have females who, are very liberal, who listen to this and I really only mostly call it Conservatish because I have some people who, I'm like somewhere in the middle, on many things. Like sometimes I talk about how like I'm into guns and gays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to be like?
I say on the stage, like I bought a pussy hat and I went home and hung it on my AR-15.
Nice. But I have a lot of females who listen, and even though I talk mad shit about everybody and everything, including mostly women, they are able to like understand where I'm coming from because it's a long form conversation.
Yeah, and you're clearly laughing about it. There might be a tiny grain of truth in the ridiculous things you're saying.
Just a little, yeah.
Which is what makes something funny. If there's a small bit of truth in it.
Right.
Or maybe there's not any truth in it at all that makes it funny. I love talking about molestation on stage. It's just, I mean, I've got one of the funniest molestation jokes I think on the planet. I mean, I really do.
Do you mind if we have?
I'll burn it because I've burned it before.
Oh, okay, all right.
But
copyright Matthew Banks.
This is for your listeners.
2018.
This will be on my first special, I can guarantee. But I say when I was a kid, my uncle used to touch me, and it really wasn't that bad if I would just close my eyes and imagine that it was my aunt. That's one of my favorite jokes on the entire planet, and it came to me right before I boarded a plane. I don't know how it happened.
Did you? Attention passengers, I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna run this joke by you.
I bet half the plane would have laughed.
Hell yeah.
The other half would have been mortified. But then if people pull back, then I'm like, all right. I was like, look, guys, I was only partially molested. I never came.
Oh, no.
But he did. So... Yeah, and I wasn't even touched by my uncle. I was touched by my neighbor, but I had to have a molestation joke.
You can't say like I would have not. You couldn't say like my female neighbor. You had to like say uncle. It makes it more palatable.
Yeah.
Isn't that a weird thing? If you're willing to talk about it, but like, isn't that a weird thing that like molesters, like, if you don't mind going into it a
Dude,
little
I'll
bit.
go into anything.
Okay.
I don't give a shit.
Like, where, like, I guess he, like, played with you a little bit? Like, he just
Well,
touched you?
it
or-
was weird because it was his wife played with me while he watched.
Okay.
So, I mean, I say molested. Molested is like a real strong word because I enjoyed it. But I was young. You know what I mean? I was young and it was very fucking confusing.
Yeah. I've heard
Like-
it's like, Anthony from Opie and Anthony Cumia said it was like, it's like you're a little kid. It's almost like you're being choked with an ice cream cone. Like, it's tasty, but you know that it's like, you
it's
know.
like Dave Chappelle saying chocolate ice cream itself was racist or a rapist when he was talking about Cosby.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was,
How old were you?
I was 12, 13,
Okay.
something like that. So, I mean, I was a kid, obviously a kid,
Sure.
but I was old enough to where I understood some stuff.
Right.
But, I mean, it fucked me up big time, like the moral thing of it.
Okay.
Because I knew how wrong it was.
Right.
But I went back like 6 different times because it was enjoyable. But I mean, so there was that whole moral dilemma of like, I'm a Christian kid.
Right.
And, I mean, it fucked me up. Like that,
Yeah.
it fucked me up. It didn't fuck me up as far as...
Who you were and stuff. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean...
I'm sure part of that was because of it being hetero, I guess.
Yeah, and is like, am I really a victim because it's a woman, but he's watching? So
Right.
it was
I don't
just
know.
weird.
Yeah.
And now it's like, if I'm still a victim and I'm 33,
Right.
you got a real problem.
Right.
Because, you know, at what point do you become a volunteer? I'm trying to work on a bit about that. Like, at what point does the table turn to where now it's your fault?
Oh no.
Yeah, like, not that it's your fault that you were molested, but
Right.
it's your fault that you still feel shame.
Or because sometimes, you know, I remember when I was a kid, I got smacked around many, you know, at least shit. I can't even remember how many times, but it wasn't like a ton. But I remember acting like it was a ton when I was like maybe 15 and I first got sent away to this place where I got sent away, this therapeutic boarding school thing. And I remember talking about it as if I had been abused. I hadn't really been abused. I got smacked around, you know, whatever. It wasn't like abuse though, you know what I mean? But I remember painting it that way, and not intentionally, because I'm 15, I'm a kid. I'm just a kind of douchey alcoholic kid, and I'm looking for sympathy in some way, you know what I mean? So, you know, I was able to use that to kind of to try to get sympathy. So, like, I don't know, does that switch it over too, you think?
Oh,
From victim to volunteer?
yeah, I mean, I definitely used it to be a victim for a long time. And I was a victim, without
You
a
were,
doubt,
right.
in the beginning. But I mean, 10 years later,
Oh,
are you
God.
still a victim? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, that to me, because the reason is because I'm giving them all the power
Right,
at that point.
right.
You know, and there's got to be a way to where it's like, okay, now, of course, I was a victim, but now if I'm still in pain and still ashamed because of it, then there's some work I need to do.
Right.
And it's hard to get that point across without sounding like, oh, he's all for molestation.
Right.
Which, in a sense, I am, because it shaped me as to the person I am today, and I'm grateful it happened.
Right.
I really am.
No,
Like,
I yeah.
I don't want it to happen to anybody else.
Of course not.
Unless I don't like them. But, you know, but obviously I'm joking. But I'm grateful for everything that happened to me, because you know, I'm happy with who I am today. I really am.
Yeah, you wouldn't change the past, nor wish to shut the door on it, or
Yeah.
you know all that stuff.
Just,
Is there a piece of you? This is a weird joke or a weird question. It's not. I'm not trying to be a dick about it or anything. Is there a piece of you that's like? Because there's a piece of me, not molesting necessarily. I think that's fucked up.
Peace referring to your package?
No, sir. No, sir. Although it would be, again, it's not earthworm color, but it's also not white. It's somewhere in the middle. But is there a piece of you? Because there's a piece of me that goes, that girl's kind of a good girl. Like, is there a piece of you, like, where, like, she's a trooper? You know what I mean? Like, it was a fucked up thing that she did that, but that she would be that mentally fucked up. It's not that it turns you on or anything like that.
It does.
Okay.
I'm hard right now. No, I'm kidding. But what?
Oh God!
Like the woman that touched me?
Not that. No. Okay. Listen. Because I'm trying to. Just that a woman would be that mentally. Because that's what, for me. That's why. Jesus, where's a? There's no. Maybe there is a way for me to be able to talk or is there a piece
be blunt?
Because for me, the fact that a woman would be that down to do that sold into her man, that she would be able to be talked into that. There's a small piece of that that's hot to me, that she would be a down ass bitch. You know what I mean? It's fucked up that she did that, but there's a piece of me that's like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a weird
so respectful of his kinks. Or
No!
I'm so
No. That she would be that somehow, because he fucked her or got into her head so much, or unless she was just actually a molesting person.
Well, what if it was her idea? Let's not get gender roles.
That's
here.
true.
I mean, she could be
This
just
is a
as
weird thing
powerful.
to talk about. I'm very sorry to go in this direction.
Weird,
I don't mean to.
Just fucking get on board. Let's fucking do this.
I just love because okay. Let me think of like a much more innocent way. An innocent example is when a female first gets into a relationship, she's never been, maybe she's, when she was young, she's like, 18, 19. She's never been choked before. She's never been spit on. She's never been hair pulled, whatever the hell, hit, slapped in the face, whatever. Some guy gets into her heart to the point where she's willing to do that, where she's like, all of a sudden, oh, fuck, I like to be spit on. Oh, fuck, and she's degrading, she's going deeper and deeper into sexual depravity. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I
the
get that
mechanism
part.
is hot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what she did was. What I'm saying is the mechanism of like her being that mentally fucked up.
Yeah,
or,
that like willing and open to explore someone's kink is what I was saying.
Yeah.
I'm being ridiculous, but I get what you're saying.
I'm not trying to be insensitive at all.
I don't care. Trust me. Look, dude, I'm over it all.
Right.
Which is so comforting.
Right. So is it hard to like talk about that on stage because there have been people in the audience? Have they like been mad at you? Like, hey,
No.
I've been molested. Fuck you, type of shit.
No, if they said that, I'd be like, yeah, I was just talking about being molested.
Right.
And usually that joke murders.
Okay.
Usually. 95% of the time.
What
And if
happens
it doesn't,
5% of the time?
that's like, which is fine.
I wonder why some groups are willing to go down that way.
Most every
and
group
some
is. Because they're so relieved at the ridiculousness of the joke.
Okay.
There's so much tension when I say my uncle used to touch me, and then I relieve it with, imagine it was my aunt or whatever.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, thank God, he's just being fucking ridiculous here.
But do you set it up before then with a bunch of fantasy-driven jokes so they think you're lying at that point? Or do they still...
I mean, I talk about moonshine being the only drink strong enough to kill the shame of incest. And and just saying because when I was a kid, my uncle touched me. And
Right.
just getting more and more ridiculous.
Right.
And if you think I'm being serious at this point, then it's your fault.
Okay,
And
all
you're
right.
at a comedy show.
But do they feel like... Because there would be tension if they think that you're telling the truth, but maybe there would be tension just because of the words you're saying or the idea that you're,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so there would be tension either way. Interesting.
Yeah, and I try not to read into it. I try to just do it. And if people are offended, I'm sorry.
Right.
But, I'm so happy that I'm over it and that I can laugh about it.
Right. Did you ever see those people later on in life?
Oh, yeah. If I go home, I generally run into them, on occasion. It's weird. Yeah, it's real weird. If I had the time, I'd tell you the whole story.
Right. Do you? I guess you never reported them or whatever.
Yeah, we did. It was a whole long, horrible. That was the traumatizing part, was having to deal with all that stuff because I didn't tell anything until 2 years later. Okay. And then there's no evidence at all, so there's no sense in even taking it to court. But I still had to go through the child services coming over, and it was a nightmare.
Did your parents get affected?
Oh my God. Yeah.
They probably
Terribly.
They probably felt guilty for
I mean, they're
for no
way,
reason. And,
way more damaged by it than I was. Way, way more. I would imagine that they're still fucked up about it.
How often do you see them?
The molesters?
No. Your parents.
Oh, my parents? Every 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
But, yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like we've had a good, real conversation here. I hope your listeners realize that
No, you actually, I'm telling you right now, you're like the 3rd person or 4th person to bring up. We have funny conversation. The Good Girl, as an example. There's an episode 18, I think it was 18 or 19. The Good Girl, and we start off the conversation just because I know her. I'm like, so you like sucking dick? She's like, I love sucking dick. And we just go on for like about, all kinds of foul sex stuff and, picking it apart and why. And then she also talks about being molested. Mm-hmm. And so it takes this heavy turn.
Yeah.
And I think just like any long form conversation, it's natural sometimes to have, a heavy turn from time to time. I think you and I are much more comfortable doing that. The fact that this is a broadcast, or that it's going to be in public is maybe strange for them, but like,
it's fine.
Right.
I'm willing to sacrifice me being uncomfortable for thousands of others to be.
Right.
I'm so sorry you were disturbed by my story.
If I could turn back time and not
have had that happen to me so you could feel a little more safe, then, I would do that. But unfortunately, I can't do that.
Yeah, no, and actually, I think that there's definitely lots of people listening to that story, to this story, to all kinds, that suddenly it's like popping the balloon of like, I'm the only person who has lived this through, lived through this. I'm the only person who has thought that. I'm the only person who has just like even race thoughts, you know what I mean? Or like, fucking being angry at women and not being able to express it because, it's toxic masculinity. The fact that we have that conversation, it is freeing.
And one thing I have a hard time with is that that's why I was saying molestation, because it really wasn't that bad. I hate that word for my case.
Right.
Because I know lots of people that were like raped, which was a whole nother fucking ball game. Like, and that really, really disturbs me.
Right.
Because I feel like, dude, why am I even sharing this? Because like I felt no pain. I just was psychologically tortured. But
that's it.
Yeah, but on a somewhat serious note, like some people had to deal with that and fucking physical pain. I mean, I just can't even imagine or fathom that, especially as an even younger kid.
Right.
So that part of it is like, mine's a little petty. You know what I mean? And I'm just being real here.
Right.
And somebody would be, but you're a victim. I'm like, I know I'm a victim, but Well,
I think that goes to our earlier point. Here's what I mean. Real ass black people will be able to tell you in New York, like, okay, yeah, white people did some fucked up shit and blah 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 blah. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, we steal from time to like, yeah, don't go to fucking Harlem by yourself. Don't go past 125th Street. Just stay south. So they'll tell you. Like, I think that takes an emotional honesty that you have because of probably the work you've done on it, or the time that has passed, or the fact that you have grabbed your balls spiritually, and just hung on to your own manhood outside of that, or regardless of that. So you're able to be honest about whatever you're feeling about it, good or bad, up or down, light or not light,
Yeah, and I hope that anyone that's ever had it, and I know a lot of guys that have had it and not been, they've been too scared to talk about it because they do feel like, well, maybe that made me gay, or, because a lot of times people do come when it happens, or I was hard as a rock.
Right.
So I don't think anybody should want to, have to feel shame about that. And,
I got my dick sucked about 5 or 6 times from dudes, and I wouldn't say, and I did it as an adult or whatever, but like I'm not even bi. Like, I just was, at that point, I was just a desperate, 21-year-old.
Exactly, dude, doing you a favor. I mean, what are you going to do? Fucking warm mouth is a warm mouth.
Isn't that a strange thing that men? I mean, I guess in some women too, but like that men would be so turned on by just because I told them up front, like I'm just doing this just to get head. I'm not going to touch your ass. You're not going to touch mine. We're not going to do anything else except you suck my dick and I'm straight. And that turns a lot of dudes on. It's very interesting.
Well, because they're gay.
I know it doesn't make any sense to me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and not just that, but like I don't think I would just eat pussy, like, and that's it. Like I can't even jerk off. I would just eat pussy. I don't know.
I'd probably do a person a favor. I mean,
here's Craigslist. You know?
I want to be objectified for once. Like, just once. I want to be fucked for my looks, and that's it. Like you're the most unfunny piece of shit, worthless human being, but god damn it, you're hot. Like I want that to happen.
Why don't you just start going on stage and just standing there and waiting for the girls to hoop and holler?
Yeah, see, that's a big fucking problem is people think that comedians get laid because they're funny. Like being funny is just a small part of it. I'm approached regularly, well, back when I was actually doing shows, now I'm just doing open mics. But by women be like, "Oh my god, you were so funny," and then I'm like, "Thank you."
Right.
And that's all I know how to say. I don't know how to move the conversation forward. You still have to have game, like being funny. And another dude, I heard a comedian talk about it. It was one of the greatest points I've ever heard made. He said that women don't find you funny after a month.
Yeah.
So funny is not going to keep it.
Yeah,
funny is not going to keep the woman. It might help you get them.
Right.
But keeping them, no.
Right.
Which was, I mean, you know, of course there's probably exceptions, but I was like, wow, that's a great point. I've never even thought of that.
Right.
Ian Laura is a guy that said that, just so, you know, in case you want to look him up. He's hilarious. But anyway, I got to wrap this up or I'm going to run out of gas.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. We will cut it off.
I feel like we had a solid combo.
I did too, man. Thank you for having me and for me having you.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
I'm glad to have you.
This will be a rockin' pod. Please.
This was a great episode. I really liked this. This was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a good podcaster.
Yeah, you're very good. It was very conversational. I'm glad I got to get deep. You were very interested about my life and my upbringing and my...
You know, I'm more interested in your emotions and feelings than I am as you as a human being.
Yeah. It's a smart move. No one should be interested in
you know, you should be able to feel vulnerable around me and safe.
I actually did. That's why I was willing to ask that stupid question after you shared that wonderful story.
And see, when I make it ridiculous and funny, then it's true. You can be. But when I'm like, tell me how you feel.
Right.
Then people are like fucking weirded out by it.
Right.
When people gave me compliments in San Francisco, would somebody say, "Wow, you're looking good," At be like, "Dude, get away from me." It would weird me out. I'm not used to it.
So how do you want to plug first?
At Matthew Banks Podcast for Instagram and at M Banks Podcast for Twitter. Mainly just listen to my podcast and share every episode that you see with your friends. Some of it you might be offended by. Some of it you might giggle. But there's some really amazing comedians from the Bay Area on the podcast. And is there anything else to look me up on? That's about it. Shoot me an email, MatthewBanksPodcast@gmail.com.
But what about shows? No?
No shows. I'm still grinding my teeth here in New York.
Oh, you have to grind teeth first.
Oh, yeah.
Mics and then,
yeah.
Okay.
It's going to take a long time.
Balls.
What you plugging?
I'm going to be... let's see. I'm going to be playing at Amelie Wine Bar in San Francisco on the 18th. No. That's Duvin. Yeah. Sunday, Amelie Wine Bar, 18th. And then go to Conservatish podcast at gmail.com to yell at me for my insensitive words. And then also you can find me on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever Conservatish, or at Peter_Feliciano on Instagram.
Nice, dude.
Thank you
feel like
very
we got
much,
a lot
Matthew.
accomplished.
We did. And we did it all in a car.
All in a car.
In a Lexus. This is a sweet Lexus.
Thanks, man. Don't tell too many people. They might think I have too much privilege.
Why do you have all this Vaseline?
That is icy hot.
Why do you have icy hot
Well,
in the
it
car?
reminds me of the torture of my childhood if I rub it on my...
Jesus Christ!
No.
Jesus Christ! You can't do that after we plug.
No, it's for headaches. It really is. I get headaches on occasion, and it's the best thing I've found.
On your head? You rub it on your head?
Yeah, I rub it on your forehead.
Dude, I'm going to try that.
Yeah, and I rub it right above my eye, literally. Like, right on top of my eye. I close my eye.
What if you, like, sweat into your eye?
Well, if you sweat in there, like, again, it reminds me of my child.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm kidding. I love all of you. Thanks for listening. And I got to turn my car off before I run out of gas.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.